Hi everyone, I'm back again, once again, with a brand new episode today with Melissa, Chief Learning Officer of Wescom. Hi Melissa, how are you doing?
Hi, Anya. Thanks for having me.
Absolute Melissa, it's a pleasure to have you in the podcast. And obviously, thank you for taking your time out. I know you are really crazy busy, but still you gave us 30 minutes. That's like amazing. And also, she was so flexible that I requested for reschedule for a different slot. She was like, okay, let's do it. I mean, it's impossible, I know, but she was kind enough to do it. So again, thank you, Melissa, for accommodating with us.
My pleasure.
Quick introduction who Melissa is. Again, we're just having a fun talking about, how young I am, right? I mean, I always talk about how young I am. So she told me, okay, Anurag, you can be young, but I have like 35 years. I've spent almost 35 years at Westcom. I was like, okay, that's for a change. So introduction is she spent 35 years at Westcom. Again, a very, very inspiring journey. Tell her to become chief lending officer of the credit union, right? She spent like 35 years, starting with the branch, moved outside branch, moved to executive positions, and now leading the entire lending charter for Westcom, right? Marissa, I know, I did a horrible job at introducing you, but still, if you want to add something that makes more sense, please feel free to go and add something.
Thank you, Anurag. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast and the folks that you've already been able to have is been impressive and inspiring. So I thank you for including me in that group. I My journey has been an interesting one. As you said, started as a teller and worked my way up through the branches in varying executive roles. Worked in then senior executive roles, and and I think that what's been most important to me is to be of service. So whether that is to the team that I serve or to the members that we serve or the communities that we serve, that's been my anchor through all of these almost 35 years. I can't believe it either. It's crazy to think that.
I'm shocked. Absolutely. I asked the same question to my mother, and she's like, even I don't know how did I spend 35 years doing the same thing. It's a learning for me, from both of you, from my mother and from you. It's a huge learning. How to do something correct and right and passionately for 35 years. I mean, I'm almost done when I'm 10, right? I mean, I have around 10 years of experience. I think, I'm almost done. So that's amazing, right? Let's talk about, your journey a bit, right? Or, what has been your journey so far?
Well, so my journey, it's funny. You talked about successes and challenges. So everyone has challenges on your arc, and it's about how you overcome those and how you overcome them well. So I think about particularly for women, and particularly with your podcast being specifically about women in banking, and imposter syndrome is huge, and you just get these challenges of confidence periodically that end up just uncovering themselves in the most bizarre ways. And it's up to you to quiet that voice and to recognize, I can do this, I've got this. And to be able to then go ahead and show people that you're able to do it. I'd heard recently, and I don't know the exact statistics, but that women would not go for a promotion unless they were 100% certain that they could achieve their objective and to fulfill all of the job responsibilities. Where our male counterparts are not as hard on themselves. It's like, I'm going to give that a try. I may not have it all, but I'm going to give it a try. But women oftentimes are held back by just the deep-seated concerns sometimes about how they're able to participate, how they're able to contribute.
Very common theme. I mean, world is so small, right? Again, shout out to Erica from Redstone. I think Monday I posted a clip from her, right, where she talks about exactly the same thing. Even if I'm 85% sure about a role or 80% sure, go do it, right? You'll never be sure 100% about it. You have to go figure out. And I think because of people like you, Melissa and Erica and all my guests, right, who are trying to positively impact the ecosystem, things are changing, right? People are looking at it in different way. People having mentor, you mentoring people. Definitely, people are moving one step ahead, I would say, right, from whatever was there 35 years ago. That's for sure, right? And Melissa, obviously, very related question dovetailing into this point of yours that women are always think or rather overthink, right? I mean that I need to be 100% confident. So what is it? What are one of the I would say major learnings? If you talk about a few major learnings across the last 35 years of your career, what would they be?
Well, the first one is to trust my voice. That if I have a question, chances are someone else has a very similar question, regardless of gender, and that it ends up being a question that could be easily answered. It could be a question, oh my gosh, we've all been thinking about that, and we have to come up with an answer together. So I think that learning to trust my voice was one of the major learnings. Another thing is, you spoke of it earlier, is following your passion. So my passion is service. So as long as I am serving those around me, then I am fulfilling my purpose, and that ends up being my why.
That's the most important. If you're serving a purpose, absolutely. And also talk about a few challenges you faced by this time, I mean, through your career, right? I mean, from being a teller to a CLO, it's been a huge ride, right? It's not less. It's been a huge growth trajectory. So what are the challenges that you faced, and how did you overcome challenges? I mean, that's something which all of us face. I mean, irrespective of being a male or a female leader.
So challenges, you just have to go head on. Don't don't let your fear of what you're facing dictate your outcome. And how you overcome that is you just start one little bit at a time. The proverb, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. That you do what you can with what you have. Another learning is to have good resources. You just talked about a mentor. Did I have mentors? Oh my gosh, I had great mentors and still do. Great mentors and sponsors. People who see and saw more in me than I did in myself. So really being able to lean into the mentorship in order to solve the issues and have people I can go to. And it's even if it's not mentors, if it's a colleague, to reach out to a colleague and say, oh my gosh, I think that you had this happen a while ago. How did you deal with it? This is what I'm thinking. Tell me what your thoughts are.
That is golden, right? I mean, wish people could know more about having mentors, importance of mentors. If you ask me, I don't know. It's just because I mean, you always consider as one of your kids, but at least people like us, right, in our early 30s or late 20s, late 20s nowadays, we always have been ingrained from day one that you need mentors. Unless you have a mentor, you will never be able to succeed. And believe me, this has not come magically to me. Someone like you, like my father. Right? He told me this when I was a kid that you have to find mentors, and mentors can change across period of time. Right? It's not like you're abandoning your mentors, but your mentors change period of time. Your aspirations change, your journeys change, and hence that's a process. And I'm so glad, Melissa, that you're covering the same topic, talking about mentors, importance of mentors. I mean, can we just tell my audience right away, guys, we need to have mentors to move ahead, be it professionally, be it personally, to grow in our lives, in whichever way we need mentors. So thank you, Melissa, for putting this point across, right? This is really, really very helpful, right? Uh, moving on to,
Can I
yeah,
put a
sure.
finer point on that too?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Is to say that it's not necessarily in your field. That it's good to have some in your field, but it's also good to go outside your field, whether it's faith-based or whether it's just a field that you might be interested in, and just reaching out to people. And I think that that's an important thing to consider.
I mean, what you talked about, Melissa, that's actually very important, right? Having mentors that are outside your field, because those people really give you a broader perspective about your life. I mean, very strangely, weirdly, uh, right now I'm talking to a Michelin star chef. This guy is not related to what I do for a living, right? But the way how he looks at the world, that's beyond imagination. I could have never thought about it. I was also talking to a sports journalist a few days back and asking about what are your 2 cents on life. And he has mentored me so well in the last 2 years. I mean, this is like absolutely to the point. Vanessa. Absolutely, absolutely. And I'm sure that if people are looking for mentors, you would be happy to mentor people. And hence, for the benefit of doubt, I tell everyone that's Melissa. Please add her on LinkedIn right away and drop her messages. If she doesn't respond to your messages for mentorship, I'll bother her. Right? I'll get you connect with Melissa, but she's
Happy to
always there.
help. Happy to help.
Thank you. Thank you. Uh, Now, Melissa, we talked about your journey, right? Now, again, piggybacking on the mission, right? That why are you doing this? I mean, if I ask you why this role, why Wescom?
Oh, why Wescom?
Why Wescom and why this role? Both, right? I mean,
So what I will tell you about why Wescom, it is because there is clear value alignment. When I consider the Wescom core values, and then when I look at my own, they are the same. So it makes it easy to work at Wescom, and that's what also makes me passionate about working at Wescom. Makes me recommend Wescom as a financial institution, as a credit union, because I know that we're going to do things the right way, that we're going to put your needs first, and that we are going to do the best we can for you. Why this role? Well, it's really funny, Anurag. So, like I said, I'd been in the branches. I was over administration, which at that time, administration, it's changed a little bit since then, but it was HR, marketing, business analytics. So I know, you talked about data, a little bit about data, dipped my toe in that water. And partner development, so our relationships with UCLA and Knots and so forth. And then there was an opportunity for lending. Well, I flash back to when I was a member service representative in the mid 1990s, and that I always wanted to be in lending. Like, lending was cool. Like, we were really helping people. We were helping people achieve their dreams. And so what better way than to take my branch experience, my administration experience, and then apply it into the lending role to continue to help people build their better lives.
I think personally, if you ask me, the best lending officers are people who have seen both the sides. Retail have done operations, transition from there is doing lending right now because you cannot be a hands-on CLO if you haven't done operations yet, right? So that's what my personal belief is, and that's what you've done, right? That's the reason you're so successful in what you do right now, Melissa. This is fantastic, right? Now, since you're talking about lending, right? So let me ask you about your priorities right now. Obviously, rates have come down. I mean, the more I talk to credit unions, I mean, the more I talk to CLOs, CMOs, CXOs, I definitely get that there is a increased demand for lending that's coming up, right? I mean, I'm doing a bunch of lending campaigns for auto. HELOC is again coming up, but top three priorities right now.
Well, top three priorities are systems, and oftentimes I think Anurag in
Uh-huh.
the technology and teams and processes. So when I look at those items separated, so I'm sure I could come up with three priorities in each one. So people development, and the reason I say people development is number one is because my number two, and these aren't necessarily in order. I'm not going to say them in order, because my number two is data, artificial intelligence, machine learning. I think we're going to have to upskill our teams in order to best use the data we have, and to use the people for things that require deeper thought. The machine learning and the artificial intelligence, that'll help us with efficiency. So that way our team members rather are able to provide the service that they need to. And then the next piece would be in process, which process kind of dovetails a little bit with technology in so much as if it can breed efficiency to make our team more effective, then that triad to me is it. Each one individually would be important, but together I think that they're very impactful and powerful.
To priorities, one of them still makes me believe that I will have a job for the next 10 years.
At least all of them you'll have a job, because I think that there are a lot of people on your org who are like, oh my gosh, the computers are going to take my job. No, they're not. They're not. We still need people, like I said, to do the critical thinking, the problem solving. The data is going to be the data, but we need to have the people to really dive deeper into what are the real issues we need to solve for.
Exactly, right? I mean, debate that's happening. I mean, the first debate was that will AI replace humans? That's one, which is put to rest. No, it will work in conjunction with you. Second, the what do I say? The insecurity that I went into. People were talking about. I'm a data scientist. Were talking about, can Gen AI replace data scientists? I'm like, let's do something, right? Can Gen AI replace rocket scientists? Now the next question will be that, right? Or can Gen AI replace moving to Mars? That's the type of question that I'm getting, right? But it's not possible, right? I mean, just taking into consideration, maybe lending, underwriting. Yes, underwriting can be driven by machine learning models, but who will ensure that those are not biased? Who will ensure that they are compliant? Who will ensure the performance is right? Uh, Even talking about performances, right? I mean, who will ensure that they perform well across a period of time, right? So those softer aspects, and what we tend to forget is that you cannot automate everything. A credit union is born, a credit union is there to help people. A single underwriting score cannot determine if you'll be given a loan or not. Right? That's the reason. I'm sure you receive so many applications where you think that yes, they do not fit into the credit score. Let's expand the credit box because this person looks he needs it, right? And he might be able to pay back. So those human judgments, they can never be codified, and AI can never ever do that, right? So I'm confident that I'll have a job, but I'm also confident that since I understand both the things, I will actually have a job. So thank you for making me calmer.
Well, I appreciate you really bringing the finer point to that, because there will always be judgment. So that's where we come in with the heart and the head, and being able to put the two things together and render what we believe is a fair and just decision.
Absolutely, Melissa. Absolutely, right. So I want to be respectful of your time. I want to ask you one parting question.
Okay.
Uh, I mean, we talked a lot about lending. Now, obviously, the ecosystem looks brighter today. People are talking about lending. People are talking about it's softening across a period of. It will soften across a period of few quarters. Rates will again come down, but obviously not the ones we expect, right? But where do you think is the lending ecosystem right now? Where is it going? I mean, you want to share some high points, low points, whatever you want.
Right now, I'm a little bit challenged, because I feel like there are some unknowns that are really going to cause us struggle with, right now we're looking at some regulatory, possible regulatory challenges that are headed our way. So what does that mean for us? So I wish I had a really good answer for you about where lending's going, but I think that we have, at this point, we have more questions than answers. I can speak to California, and Southern California in particular. So we have the availability to have members join Wescom through 32 counties in California. So from the Mexican border up to Central Cal and Central Coast. And so, but we just recently went through the wildfires. And so what's going to happen with, the folks who lost generational wealth? And how are we able to help them and how are we able to, basically help the folks who need it the most with smart lending choices. And it will strongly depend on, how quickly we can get things straightened away in the fire zones. I've been focused a lot on that, and how can we help these folks who have just lost everything. And it's a tough problem to solve, but I think that we're up for the challenge, and I think that that's where lending comes in. That's where the focus should be, is for those who are really in the most need. So how are we able to meet that need where they are?
I think that's the reason I can safely call you a true blue credit union exec, right? You just talk about people, you talk about needs, you talk about helping people, and I mean, I can certainly see, right? You're a true example of people helping people, right? And there's a reason because of which the credit union movement is going forward. To Melissa, and again, we want to thank you on behalf of the Women of Community Banking podcast for doing this every single day and taking the movement ahead. So thank you for doing that, and thank you for being in the podcast. And I mean, we couldn't be more excited.
Thank you for asking me, Anurag. I appreciate your time.
Absolutely, Melissa. Thank you.